Nice sunny afternoon. I was expecting rain all afternoon, but it's good to see everybody today. I will call to order the Nashville MTA board meeting, and first I will do a roll call. Catherine Sasser.
Here. Present.
Ron is here and present. Both. That is really attentive, so great. Ron Thompson.
Present.
Jessica Dalton.
Present.
And Gail Carr-Williams is present. And our vice chair, Janet Miller.
Present.
Present. Next on our agenda is the approval of the August 29th board minutes. If I could have a motion for approval.
So moved. Janet Miller.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, we have minutes. Thank you very much. Next, our public comments section. And I have one here, Mr. Bull. Good afternoon, Mr. Bull.
Y'all know I'm a frequent rider. 3 comments. I noticed in October, early October, that Spanish classes are going to be offered for bus drivers, which I think is very pertinent. I'm coming in on 52 from Coleman Park, headed outbound this morning. A driver had communication issues with a couple of Hispanic construction workers. They worked it out, but yes, this is a very good thing, as Martha Stewart would say. Second, I've been knocking on doors in reference to the Choose How You Move movement, and it can't come soon enough. In particular, I would love to see an emphasis on the 24/7, because this town does things after a certain hour at night, and we need to have the mass transit, but you all know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bull. I do not have any other notices for public comment. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment? Is there anyone else wishing to make a public comment? Hearing no request, that closes the public comment section for our meeting today. Thank you very much. And next on the agenda are the information only items, and there are 3 items on here, mostly related to operating statistics, monthly financial reports, and upcoming procurements. And I will make one note about the monthly financial reports is that Amanda has made some changes to the format. So if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to pull out any of those items. If not, just let me know. But thank you for those changes and continuing to work on how it's presented to us, Amanda. Thank you very much. So hearing a request to pull an item out, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent agenda item. And this is the resolution for fiscal year 2024 annual grant application prepared by Billy Higgins. And if anyone needs that item pulled out for discussion. Hearing.
Actually, I would love to hear an explanation of the grants. I know that I understand that goes out for federal grants, but just a really brief explanation of all the different ones that WeGo is seeking, I think might be helpful.
In your packet,
provided, these are the reoccurring funding sources that we utilize for operating and capital expenses. 5307 funds. There is an apportionment of approximately $39 million for the region that is split between 4 agencies. 5339 federal funding with $1.8 million total. 5310, which is utilized by our subrecipients that GNRC awards funding to. We use operating assistance from the state of Tennessee to the FY25 award is $6.2 million. And then we use it for match assistance. Every one of those federal grants brings in 10% match. And then we apply for regular discretionary grants from the state of Improve Act dollars. And then we apply for discretionary funds from the federal government, usually the Federal Transit Administration, as funding opportunities become available that fit projects that we want to continue or to start.
Thank you. I think it's really great that we continue to seek outside funding to support what we do get from the city. And so I just wanted to hear that out loud, and I appreciate that report.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding the consent agenda item? Hearing no further questions, I would ask for a motion for approval of the consent agenda item.
So motion.
Second.
I hear a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is approved. Ms. Dalton, I will turn over the Operations and Finance Committee to you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Appreciate that. So up for the Operations and Finance Committee's consideration is my CDL construction contract award to be led by Patrick Hester. I think this is a vote, so let's see what this is all about. Take it away, Patrick.
Absolutely. And good afternoon, Board Chair and Board Member. 4-028, it's the Myatt CDL Expansion Lot and Improvements Contract Award, enhancing safety, maintainability, and training capacity for our agency. So currently the agency operates and maintains a CDL training and testing course at the Myatt facility that approves CDLs for all employees. Over time, repetitive and heavy-duty bus movements along the training course deteriorates subsurface and asphalt conditions. And that puts us at a risk for losing our state certification when those conditions get rough. So, and as we know, losing that ability to certify CDL operators would be detrimental to our service. So with that being said, we started looking into designs and strategies and mitigation strategies, implementations to mitigate those issues on our CDL lot. And as we looked into improvements to the CDL lot, working with our training staff and our operations staff and our maintenance staff, it was nice to have 2 CDL lots. So then we have not only do we have the improvement of the lot itself, that'll be a long-standing, low-maintenance course, an asset to the company, but we could also double and enhance our efficiency in getting mechanics and operators certified. So with that said, the benefits of the enhancements of the project include concrete drive lanes to help with that continuous wear and tear at those locations where the heavy-duty buses are just continuously driving and testing along. Also, a new bus training entrance to improve safety so we don't drive through the parking lot where employees and staff are located. Level platform training areas where we can perfect our craft for operators. The horseshoe simulation of simulating the Elizabeth Duff Transit Center's horseshoe turnaround. A rodeo course layout is also included in the design. And again, not to mention the second CDL lot, which will increase CDL testing and training by 100% annually, which really translates better service reliability for the community, to be honest with you, and improved opportunities for operators and mechanics. So overall enhanced training. So with that said, the agency set a contract specific goal for 7.5% for the DBE disadvantaged business participant. It was mailed to more than 60 small minority and women-owned business enterprises and DBE firms. On the 30th, we received 5 bids. BC Mason Group was identified as the lowest and most responsive bidder, and they committed to an 8% DBE utilization goal for the project. And so with the recommendation is that the staff requests the board to provide the chief executive officer the authority to enter into a fixed contract with BC Mason Group to expand and improve the Myatt CDL lot, training lots, for a total contract budget of $744,817.50 with an additional authorization of $148,963.50 for staff-directed changes in the event that unanticipated changes arise. This creates a total project budget authorization of $893,781. The contract term is 120 calendar days, and funding for this project is provided in the agency capital plan under the Facility State of Good Repair program, utilizing 5703 funds with matching state and local funds.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hester. Any questions for Patrick?
Not so much a question about the contract, but the CDL state certification,
Yes.
is that a one-time thing? Is that an annual thing? I mean, how often does the area get CDL state certified?
Kim, is Kim in? Kim's not here.
Oh,
every
I
time we
swear
have
I
to-
wasn't trying to make.
No, you're fine.
Pop quiz somebody.
Every time we have to redo striping, we do have to get it recertified.
Say that again?
Vince is behind you with an answer.
You got this, Vince?
Yeah, I got you covered. So for the federal motor carrier, with the FMSA, they come out and they do audits, and they look at our shop and make sure from the federal guidelines from there.
Okay.
Also, the Tennessee Department of Safety, they come out, they look as well. So when they're doing their audits and checking, they want to make sure that we're following through Homeland Security they got like a criteria that they set up, and they just want to make sure we're following through, doing all the different things, so that when we give a person their CDL and it's interstate, they can actually make sure they're going to be driving the roads appropriately and doing all the things that they need to from that standpoint. So they come out, they check, we keep in contact with them. Our training team, they work with them constantly, even when it comes to if we need to put a person, when we do our records request to see if a person is eligible to get a CDL, we check with them each and every time we have a new employee come on board.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Catherine, just to follow up on Vince's and Patrick's comments. So there's both requirements under FMCSA for the lot, and that includes grading, striping, the features that you need to run that course. And we have two of our trainers are certified by Department of Public Safety as inspectors. So what makes that important is, for instance, smaller transit agencies, or if you're a little trucking company, what have you, that need somebody with a CDL, typical approach is you go through the Department of Public Safety. You know, like anyone can go and get a permit and train and do all that. And that's a long, long line. I talked to my peers around the state. There's only a couple of us that have the certified licensing program. So to Patrick's point about needing to do throughput, I mean, we're hiring well over 100 new people a year. It's really essential in our throughput, and really allows us to set the schedule rather than say we hire somebody, we train them, and then we wait 5 weeks for them to get an appointment with DPS. But they're pretty specific. I know a few years back, probably my first couple of years, we had to do some modifications to the lot because we were under threat of losing that certification because of issues associated with some of the turn angles and grades and all of that. So there's some pretty specific requirements, and they do check from time to time. So I'm sure they'll send someone out after the project's complete to make sure that it complies.
Interesting. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're already in contact with them about the pinning about the permanent pinning, so we can do permanent striping, and they're ready for the project.
Great. I think Janet had some
I
comments.
did. So I can see how this course gets a lot of wear and tear. How often do we have to incur a $900,000? How often do you have to go through this and
That's a really good
refresh
question.
it? Yes.
The refresher would just be on striping and pavement. So this would be a minor. The reoccurring maintenance is completely minor compared to this ask here, because we're talking some pretty big concrete and subsurface work with the level platform boarding and all right now.
It's really great that we've got the capacity at Myatt to do that. I mean, that was a massive facility when we acquired it, but it's good to know we can add these things. And then Gail wants to know if she can come out and christen the course in a bus.
Absolutely.
Asking for a friend.
I did go to rodeo and got a few little tricks. I think I'm ready to do. I think I'm ready.
Actually, Janet, to the upkeep piece, because the existing lot's asphalt, so the wear and tear on that is very rapid. So there's pretty much having to be an annual program of asphalt replacement and upkeep. So by replacing a lot of those surfaces, particularly the high wear surfaces with concrete, we should definitely slow down the upkeep process, which also keeps the lot more available. And doubling the lot, you know, when we get to those points in the future, we have to maintain it. Essentially, we'll always be able to have one CDL lot in constant operation.
That's great. Thank you.
Ron?
What has to come offline in order to create this new lot?
Right now, the phasing plan is to start on the 3/4 side of the lot where it's non-existent, where we don't have the CDL lot existent, leave the CDL lot open, complete this section, the 3/4 side of the lot, and then phase over. So nothing will be closed. And if the construction window is here to knock it out right now.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, good call. Okay, go ahead.
So then does this include costs for any additional thing we need to do to the existing lot?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes.
Couple things Patrick mentioned I wanted to highlight where the features we're adding are level platform boarding treatment. If you'll recall from the Dr. Ernest Patton Jr. North Nashville Transit Center, we're experimenting with level platform boarding, but until we get operators trained on it, it's difficult to deploy that. So that's important. And he mentioned the horseshoe. If you're at Central, you see that concrete curve, and you've heard from Nick previously, there's an awful lot of purple paint on that horseshoe curve. So the ability to simulate that and get folks used to that turning movement, you know, should result in reduced body damage. They're small accidents, but I think Carl and Andy would tell you that they take up a lot of time in the body shop.
Yeah. I would like to say that having this in-house, I think, is a tremendous value to the agency. And I'm so proud of this development and forward thinking and growing our operations and training in this way for obviously to support a much bigger transit system and network. I will say that FHWA will tell you that the gas tax is higher for diesel per gallon than it is for car gasoline because those heavy vehicles exponentially destroy the asphalt more quickly than a regular sized car. So I think that moving toward a really solid, heavier, what you were calling the sub level and the concrete is absolutely brilliant, and I applaud that. Our continued training, Steve, as you mentioned, the horseshoe, I think I've heard a couple of riders come in and talk about this at public comment times about the buses running on the curb or hitting that horseshoe bend in some way. So I think that having more qualified drivers will equal having more safe drivers and operators out there. And I think all of Nashville will certainly benefit from that. So I think it's time that I recommend this to the full committee then, Margaret? Okay. As chair of the Operations and Finance Committee, I'm proud to, make a motion to approve this action item MA 24028 as written in the recommendation.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
There's a motion and there's a second. Is there any further discussion? I will say that this has been a great conversation and really exciting opportunity for us to do this. So with that being said, no further discussion. I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, Madam Chair, I think that was it for the Operations and Finance Committee. I turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you very much. And, next on here is the NICE committee, but we have no discussion items or action items for the NICE committee. But what we do have is an opportunity to celebrate our past chair of the NICE committee, Janet Miller, and celebrate our new chair of the NICE committee, Ron Thompson. So we're looking forward to your leadership, and you may have gotten away with nothing today. You may.
They never did that for me, Ron.
See?
Never happened for me.
It's really because of your shoe game. But no, but we do look forward to your leadership, and Janet, you have been just extraordinary.
And I'm not going anywhere. It's just
Yes,
sometimes the elders feel like it's good to give the opportunity to the up and coming stars. So
Yes.
and it got off light today, but we're going to get you next month. So thank you for agreeing to take it on.
I think we did that with you as well, Jessica, on your first one. Did you have, yeah, that's okay. We're gentle until. Well, congratulations, and thank you for saying yes. I appreciate that very much. Mr. Bland, your report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few items to report since we have a little bit of time. At the RTA meeting, I had to really cut it short because we were running over. So first of all, last month you got to meet Amanda Vandergrift and Debbie Frank. I'm pleased to report they have more than hit the ground running. In fact, I was just telling Margaret before the meeting started, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all my free time now because they've got everything pretty well under control. But a couple things that are happening. I know Amanda is shaking things up in the finance department, looking at modernizing practices, implementing internal controls, moving to things like electronic payments. And Debbie could not have landed at a much better time because I feel like some days I feel like we're not in the transit business anymore. We're in the real estate business. So there were actually 5 pending projects. You're all aware of, what we did at North Nashville and Hillsborough, and now we've got Antioch hot and Donaldson hot and Upper Dickerson Pike hot. And even yesterday we started having conversations about the Sobro hub. So I need to make sure we squeeze enough time for her to work on her other duties. But in the meantime, that's been reassuring. So last month we announced our community impact partnership with the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are covering the cost of lost revenue for us to be able to offer free fares system-wide in Nashville, just MTA, not RTA services, on their home game days. So we've had 2 so far. And the first game, September 15th against the Jets, we estimate that about 800 people got on and off at the Nissan Stadium stops, and that's more than double what a normal game day would have been. This past weekend against the Packers, even though the result may not have been what everybody wanted, 1,200 people got on what. So we're seeing good growth. And Amanda actually pointed out to me, and I sent you all the little snippet, we're seeing some creativity among our youth in that the senior class at East Magnet School, which is right on Main Street in the 5 Points area of East Nashville, is promoting park free at the high school, donate money to the senior class, and ride WeGo for free to the Titans games and get dropped right off. So we're looking for that to really grow and expand. I want to give a particular shout out to folks like Andy, Gabe Burgess, Katie Freudberg, our operations staff for continuing to refine that. We're working closely with Metro Nashville Police, with NDOT to kind of fine-tune stops and dedicated lanes. Zeta and the customer care crew have been doing amazing work doing outreach. They were at preseason games handing out information about the service, and they were on site again. In fact, and I wasn't aware of this until I was talking to one of the Titans folks yesterday. So yeah, we saw your folks out there handing out popsicles in the heat. So I have to suspect that was a Zeta production. That kind of sounds like something Zeta would do. So in any case, we're looking forward to high growth in that. And also with respect to folks like Patrick and Denise, our stop and shelter crew has been outstanding in doing that. So we'll continue to make refinements. As the CEO of the Titans and I have talked about, this year our goal is to make transit a viable choice. And then by the time the new stadium opens, it's a preferred choice for people who are going to special events there. So I think we're off to a good start. This past month, our DTO bargaining team successfully completed negotiations with Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1235 on a new collective bargaining agreement, so we can check that off the list. And that agreement was ratified by the membership over the course of the last 2 weeks. The new contracts are currently going through final review by both parties before being published in the coming weeks, and it will, once it's executed, would extend through June 30th, 2027. I want to especially thank our bargaining team. It was led by Bill Miller. Many of you remember Bill, our prior COO. Andy Burke was on there. Vince Malone was on there. And Shelley McElhaney in the bridge between Ed and Amanda participated on the financial side. So a lot of hard work. Especially also want to thank ATU President Tracy Ward and her bargaining team. It was her first rodeo. Won't be her last. And what I can say, it represented every good negotiation. Both sides, I think, walked away equally dissatisfied with the outcome. but also I think equally satisfied. Fair settlement. I think Mr. Oliphant would be proud because the settlement fit within the financial envelope that we had set for it. But I think Tracy's members should also be proud because it fit in just barely. So I think really good result. I want to thank all the members who were able to attend the unveiling of the new mural honoring Elizabeth Duff at the Elizabeth Duff Transfer.
I tried to attend, but I went up to the North Nashville Transit Center, and it's beautiful, by the way. Couldn't figure out where everybody was.
If you wait long enough, Janet will be back to unveil
I know,
more art
that's
up
what
there.
I thought. I know, I tried.
So everyone who was there realized that the mural was created by a nonprofit group called Creative Girls Rock. It honors Ms. Duff. But the portraits in the mural are actual, real WeGo public transit employees. So the faces you see are those employees. And I had to have a half a dozen folks kind of stop me through the course of that day. Say, hey, can I take you over and show you where my picture is? So I think in addition to being a great honor for Ms. Duff, and certainly her family was delighted, I think it was a great morale builder for our folks. Other material. So on September 14th, speaking of the CDL training lot, one of the other purposes it serves, on September 14th, we conducted our annual bus and maintenance rodeo at the Maya Drive facility. It's our annual test of driving and mechanical skills, and our driving contestants negotiate an obstacle course, and our top technicians have to diagnose planted defects in various bus subsystems. And I can only imagine, Carl, the pleasure that you and your staff derive from planting these defects, in a very devious and secretive way. So completed the competition. This year's winners in the 40-foot bus competition were Kevin Sentis, first place, Jerome Horton, second place, and Eric Liggett, third place. In our van competition, the winners were Scott Wallace in first place, Kevin Sentis again in second place, and Joyce Banks in third place. A lot of repeat winners that go year after year. For the bus maintenance competition, Jeremy Hensley took first place, and this was the first rodeo for Jeremy. Troy Willett was his first rodeo. Troy Willis took second place, and in the van maintenance competition, Francis Winston took first place. It's an event that's supported by literally dozens of our staff who judge the course, who handle the catering. We turn it into a family event. There's kind of a barbecue and balloon animals and kind of a fun day. And we lucked out. We thought we were going to be dealing with rain, and it didn't rain a drop. It was actually a very nice day. So I listed all the winners, but I do have to give particular credit, and I want to thank Gail for turning out. She was there for part of the event, so it's always wonderful.
Good choice.
Whenever anybody asks whether I would drive the course, I say there's no way Earl Rhodes would ever let me behind the wheel of the bus. So, and that's probably a good thing. But I want to give special credit to Eric Liggett, who finished third in the 40-foot competition. He had a uniquely challenging run. And then we were honored to have Mayor O'Connell and his daughter attend the rodeo, and they rode along with Eric on his run.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's enough pressure when you've got like 100 people watching you go through cones and backing up and going around curves. When you have the mayor of the city on board your bus going through that
His
course.
daughter.
And his daughter. So the mayor was very happy to hear that by placing third, Eric qualifies to participate in the state rodeo. So his chances were not damaged in that competition. Next, we had the opportunity to meet with representatives of the mayor's office, Metro Planning, and Metro Finance to present our requests for the Metro's potential 2024 capital spending plan. We kind of go through this exercise every year. It's the annual process where they allocate capital dollars through the Metro capital budget to agencies. This year was a bit unusual because obviously, depending on what happens on November 5th, the level of our ask changes. So we actually presented in 3 levels of request. First would be if the ballot measure fails, our core state of good repair, business as usual sort of capital spending plan request. Second layer was if the ballot measure passes, projects we need to get off the ground quickly that are already approved by the Metro Council and the capital improvements budget. And then the third layer was projects that we really need to start quickly that are not yet in the capital improvements budget. So one of the things it did lead to was some conversation about how that process might work if the ballot measure is approved. So, and it's a lot of the things that you would expect: our bus replacements, our facility upgrades, stop and shelter improvements, transit center projects, and what have you. So on the theme of thanking and congratulating Iran for taking on the role of the NICE committee, Gail is 100% right. Enjoy your vacation. It won't last long. Andy and I had the opportunity yesterday, I guess, to meet virtually with Stantec, who are our consultants working on the Zero Emission Fleet Transition Plan, to walk through the workshop that we have coming through, and that will be a NICE committee event. And what I will tell you is, I hope y'all can make it, because I think you're really I think they really did a nice job in a lot of the material they're presenting. It's going to be interactive. We've already had, even off the invitations, I think they just went out last week, and we've already had a number of folks in the community respond positively, so I think it'll be a really good, interactive, interesting exercise. I know I learned some stuff just going through some of their material. I didn't know, not that I know a whole lot, but that I didn't know before. So if you haven't already, please put on your calendar. We'll be Friday, October 18th from 9 a.m. to noon. We're going to be doing it at the Convention and Visitors Corporation in the Capitol View Complex, so just a short ride up the elevator for you. 500 11th Avenue North, Suite 650, and we'll have coffee and a light breakfast, and Iran will be able to convene and preside and pontificate on zero emission. Just a couple things on the RT. Well, first let me do a couple things. Another new staff introduction is, there's Buddha. Buddha Richards, can you stand up? Buddha is our new maintenance manager. So so whenever you see a bus that doesn't look like it's working quite right, you can call Buddha, and he'll make sure to put it in good order. So we're delighted to have him on our maintenance staff, trying to keep that fleet in top-notch condition. I also want to thank Jessica for the opportunity to speak to the Transit Citizens Leadership Academy last night. Super engaged group, and a couple of WeGo staff members included in that class. So it was very enjoyable. I followed Diana from NDOT, and I preceded Michael from the mayor's office. So hopefully I didn't screw up the evening too badly. And then finally, I always report on a couple of RTA items of interest. At their meeting last week, the RTA board approved extending the period of exclusive negotiation with HG Hill and Southeast Venture on the Donaldson Station Joint Development Project for another year. We're making good progress, but the clock was running down, so that extra year should put us in a position to get an actual joint development agreement approved, developed, negotiated, what have you. Also on that project, so we're advancing regardless of how those negotiations go. We've accumulated quite a few, back to Jessica's original question, or one of her questions about the grants we received. So we've already secured about $23 million in funding toward that project from federal, state, local sources. So we are advancing design of what I'll call the public infrastructure pieces of that. So we're realigning the access roads. We're trying to design for quiet zones in that area so the train doesn't have to blow the horn, upgrading the station, adding a regional transit center, so increasing our bus capacity in that location. So we submitted our documents to Federal Transit Administration for environmental clearance in the past month, and we're hoping to hear from them in the next month that we're A-OK. And the key thing with that is once they sign off on that, then we're allowed to use the federal funds that have been accumulated so far to start design and actual hardcore project activities. And I'll remind everyone again, we're also very appreciative of Congressman Rose, who in addition to some of the other sources we got, was able to get a congressionally directed appropriation of $3 million toward that project. I would report, I think I kind of alluded to it earlier, in addition to our free fare for our Titans home games on the bus side, we are operating the WeGo Star Titans Express service as we have in past years, not free. You do have to pay for that, and best to buy tickets in advance, because so far we've sold out both home games. So that's about 1,200 riders a game, and every little bit helps. And then finally, I know we didn't really cover it, but I want to express appreciation to Andy. When you go through the operating statistics, the monthly operating stats report, and I know this was a big bug for Janet was, geez, do we ever look at the goals? So if you look through there, you will notice we have reset the goals, as I would call them, strong goals, not unattainable goals, but realistic goals. The other thing that Andy did in that report is we have, since we're going to declare victory and move on. Since last quarter, we've reached we're exceeding pre-pandemic ridership levels. We've kind of taken off that percentage of pre-pandemic and feel like we're kind of moving into more of a steady state. But if anyone has any questions about the process, certainly let us know. Other than that, unless there are any questions, Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
I have one question. Is there any update on the vandalism of the shelters? Is it still happening?
Yeah, we haven't heard. There hasn't been any since that last outbreak, and you may have, and you probably saw off of the video, police identified a suspect car and did sort of a Crime Stoppers alert. So we had photos of the car. It was actually at my bus stop, by the way, where that one was taken. I don't know, Nick, if you have any more current information on whether they've caught anyone or.
So the most recent report that I got from MNPD is that they have identified a suspect, and they have attached a detective that's working on the case. So the suspect has been identified, but it hasn't been arrested just yet.
And is the vandalism continuing, or is it stopped?
We have not had any vandalism since the Crime Stopper report went out.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Knock on wood.
I actually have a comment. I have several friends who've taken the bus to the Titans game, and a lot of the comments were that there were a lot of riders on the buses that are not usual riders. And so to me, I think that is incredibly encouraging, which is, we want to get new people that this is a new thing for them. So I just think the Titans, because the lack of parking over there is going to be a real thing. So I think this could really turn into being positive on a whole bunch of different fronts. So I was really, really excited to hear that.
Anything else with Steve? Great report, Steve. Lots of stuff going on. And I'm going to turn this over to Jessica in just a minute, but I don't want to lose some of the things that you said. So the rodeo, it was awesome. It was fun. And the thing about it, it was the spirit of WeGo and families and welcoming new people and meeting some of our new folks here. So I had a really good time, and I did want to drive, but I didn't ask. And so, Andy, maybe we could work on that coming up. And she's going to tear up my bus. No way. I'm not repairing that.
You got to get your CDL driver's license first.
I got to get my CDL first. Okay, but I have a training course now, which is pretty exciting for me to sort of do that. And the only other thing I really wanted to talk about is the unveiling of the mural at the Elizabeth Duff Center. I think it was just a very moving moment. And you talked about Creative Girls Rock, but I also want to add in, they did have an artist who did a lot of it, but she did it with amazing young girls in Nashville. They were high school girls, and I think maybe one middle school girl also worked on it, and the girls came, and they were so incredibly proud of their work. So I think as we do these things, as we continue to build legacy in our city, and when we keep sharing examples of the kind of city that we are and be able to show it and let everybody live in it as part of it is a very rewarding moment. And Michael Patton, who is Dr. Rip Patton's son, came to sort of celebrate the Duffs. And Mr. Duff came and celebrated when we opened the Dr. Rip Patton. And so when you see these families, these iconic Nashville families come together and sort of share in the honors that their families have bestowed upon our city, it just reminds me that I'm in the right place on the fourth Thursday of every month. And I thank all of you all for making certain that things like this happen, that they're celebrated, and that we continue to operate in a way that celebrates the legacy of MTA and WeGo. And you all do it all the time, every day. And I'm just grateful to be a very small part of it. Steve, your leadership has been exemplary through this. So I thank you for that as well. And the mural's so cool. It's just beautiful. And the Duff family, they were just so excited. And the fact that both you have Elizabeth Duff, her son, and her grandson as part of the mural, because they're part of the WeGo family, and it just made it really wonderful. So I just wanted to sort of add that feeling about what we're doing and the difference we're making. And I agree, Janet, the fact that people are going to the Titans and all of a sudden they realize that WeGo is the way to go, and hopefully they'll cheer a little louder for the Titans. I think they might need just a little more, but yeah, I think that's yeah. I think that's it. We just need to cheer just a little louder. I think that's the problem. But it also opens the opportunity and the door for us to do more partnerships for ridership in our city. So knowing when those opportunities come that we're ready and we're prepared to accept those opportunities is also a very positive thing. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jessica.
Hey, Gail, can I add one other thing before we hand it to Jessica to clean up? We can't go through a meeting without mentioning that this referendum is coming up first week of November, and this board has taken a formal position in support of the Choose How You Move project. And I know I've been to a dozen panels. I think we've all served on panels, but it is just so important. So anybody who is watching this or who is in the room, this is a critical time for our city. And we all need this to succeed, to move to the next chapter and the next level. So I would just encourage everybody to go to the end of the ballot and be sure that you cast your vote for that referendum. And I think all of us unanimously as a board strongly feel that way. And so I just couldn't let the meeting close without putting that little plug in. So thank you
for saying that, Janet, because that is important, and reminding everyone how important it is and how important it is for us to further the work that we're doing here. So thank you so much. Your leadership is so appreciated. Thank you, in this city and in this room. Thank you very much. All right, Jessica.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to go here if that's okay.
That is perfectly fine.
Good afternoon, fellow board members of the MTA. Thank you for giving me this chance to share with you what I got the opportunity to learn while in San Jose, California in July for the APTA Transit Board Member Seminar. That photo is their brand new electric rail. I think they got close to $1 billion in federal funding to build that, and it connects them to BART in San Francisco. So we got a chance to tour. It did not take us on an excursion or anything like that, but we did get to walk through the train. And it was really amazing. There's one car dedicated just to bicycles, for instance. I mean, it was just really, really cool. I have several other photos that I didn't include in this, but really cool nonetheless. So about the seminar, transit board members and board administrators come together for peer exchange and professional development on board governance and policy development for public transportation agencies. On the website on APTA says who should attend: board members, commissioners, board administrators of APTA, operating public transit systems members, and that. So here are the things that we covered while we were there: national and regional transit advocacy, workforce development and labor relations, safety and security, mobility innovation, procurement practices, and the CEO board staff relationship. So some top takeaways for me, it was funny because the pre-workshop, the very first question from the very first workshop leader was, what is your board's governance philosophy? So governance philosophy: align governance with agency strategic plan and mission. What type of board are we? Defining this will allow us to know if we're successful. The collaborative board CEO staff relationship. Basically, what are the clear communication lines and shared leadership roles between the board and the CEO? Basically, in a nutshell, how do we codify that the board doesn't weigh in on staff decisions and that sort of thing? Where is our lane? How do we give the CEO and the executive staff and other staff the longest, best runway and be their tailwind? Proactive strategic planning, regularly assess progress towards strategic goals, adjust strategies as needed for sustainability. And there was a lot of talk about focusing on our big rocks. And this is where I got this idea, and I think it's in a further slide, but tying projects and funding requests to specific strategic plan projects. Right, so that the board and the public continue to be aware that everything that comes before the board, and when we approve things like the CDL repaving or redo or upgrade, that it is connecting directly to something in our strategic plan, right? And what is that? Risk management, ensure frequent reviews of risk safety and exposures and cultivate a culture of assessment. The board is here to ensure long-term vitality and viability. And the way we do that is just this high-level overview of all of the things going on and finding out ways we can support and help. And lastly was engaging with the community, incorporating feedback to improve services and community engagement strategies. I wanted to talk about a couple of things that WeGo does well. We do risk assessments already. We've seen some from Nick. We've seen some from others. I think Carl has given us some, and the maintenance. I think that we have a wonderful forward-thinking crew here, and I'm just so proud to be part of a board that's overseeing or helping guide a staff that's already doing these great things. Proactive strategic planning. We're already operating and meeting the goals of our in-motion strategic plan that was adopted in 2016. There are a number of things that this staff and leadership have already been able to accomplish and connect without dedicated funding, speaking of the referendum, and that have been tremendous, including opening up a couple of new transit centers and making more frequent routes, which are two big rocks of our in-motion strategic plan. And then the strong board CEO staff communications. I feel very informed as a member of this board. Steve is nearly always accessible when I need him. He will call me. Margaret is accessible to me if I have questions, and I always feel supported in my role as a board member in those ways. So some aspirational actions, just, because when you come back and this board, helped fund my trip there, I wanted to come back and just share kind of some things that maybe we could look at in the future, maybe review current governance philosophies and communication strategies. A lot of other transit agency boards have annual board retreats, so that maybe that we could look at that there and making sure that we all are agreeing on a foundational governance philosophy that we can iterate together and separately. Assess, enhance risk management processes and focus on operational excellence. Again, I know we're already doing that really well, but just making sure that we are kind of regularly checking in on these assessments. Increase our efforts in community engagement and stakeholder feedback, and strengthen our community engagement, including frontline workers and riders, because that's key to the board understanding how we can be more effective leaders for those populations. And then lastly is support. Ensure the board is a strong partner for WeGo's future, strategically aligning our actions with long-term growth goals in the strategic plan. Again, it's those big rocks. With that strong board CEO staff communication structure and governance philosophy in hand, we could totally enhance efficacy and reduce confusion to prevent it from arising. So there you go. That is my transit board member seminar report. Any questions? Well, the photo I didn't share was me getting eaten by a Vietnamese or a Chinese big dragon they had dancing in front of us. But this was at an after all of the workshops dinner, and I forgot the name of the community outfit that we were at the building, but yeah, that was there. Thank you. That was it. No more questions?
Any questions for Jessica?
How new was their train?
Brand new. It hadn't been in service yet when we toured it.
I think they just literally started last 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time coming, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Highly recommend. I had some great photos of their light rail that goes right through downtown and coming by every so often. You know, it was just so well connected and very walkable. It was just a different situation, and Steve can tell you more than I know, but I'm sure that their operating budget is quite different than ours. Andy's back there, just a teensy bit. Yeah, they operate a lot.
Andy actually used to work for VTA, the transit agency out there. But yes, their operating budget is considerably different, and their capital budget is way considerably different.
Well, I think that photo of the light rail, I think, did get $900 million from the federal government, from the FTA for that project.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea of the level of funding that they have and that they are working with. I'm surprised I didn't show you. I thought I put it in there. Okay, so some of these, here it is. So some of these photos, you can see here, that top right photo, that is their light rail operations center. And it's not very well seen on the projector screen, but it is literally an entire wall of their entire system. And there are two guys, one sitting down here, and there's some of his TV screens there, and one sitting over here. And that is their job. They sit there 8, 9, 10 hours a day, looking at the screens and monitoring for things that could be on the track, whether it's a tree limb or a person or a car, and anything they say goes. If they were to call their electric service, for instance, and say, get out there and get that tree limb off of the track, that equivalent to NES would have to go do it immediately. And they have to do it to the directive of those individuals. This operations center was absolutely incredible to tour. And I was, number one, astounded and awed. I mean, who wouldn't it be? But number two, it just showed me how far we have to go before we can accept the mantle of light rail, to be honest. Like that was such an intense moment of touring that and looking at that, and we got to tour their maintenance facility, which is below that office there below, and I got to see their big light rails where they bring all the cars in and maintain them. I mean, it was really, really incredible to be there and see the difference between a bus system and a light rail system. Right, we don't have any capacity to house or maintain a light rail car or anything yet. Right, we have a long way to go. And this picture here, where did I do here? This one on the left, that was a panel on transit agency safety. So all three of those guys are transit police department staff. Right, that person on the left, that is Denise Figueroa. She is from Albany. Yeah, and she was the moderator. She's the board member from Albany. And it was incredible to hear each of these transit agency police departments talk about their different attitudes and perspectives on managing safety at their system. I think one is from Portland, one was from Denver, and one was from, I can't remember the third one, but they had very disparate perspectives and philosophies on policing in very different cities. Yeah, but they all had some really great nuggets of information to share. You know, you're looking at some of the similar problems we were experiencing at that time, but Oregon specifically was experiencing a lot of drug overdoses, and so they had a very different tactic in terms of social engagement and social worker management with their policing. There. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica, and thank you for going and representing us and bringing this great information back. It gives us a lot to think about and just a lot of opportunities to grow as a board and as an agency. So thank you for being there for us. Appreciate it. With that, anything else from anybody else? Again, as Janet said, go to the bottom of the ballot. We got one more time to talk about it too, right? Right, okay. So thank you all, and with that, we are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.